Good day. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I am Bea from Thermomix, a local Brisbane-based Thermomix consultant, and here to help you with your machine, whether you have a TM31, 5 or 6. So I hope today's little video will help you just to understand a very small portion of your machine, and hopefully you will share and like this video with others who can learn a little bit more about their machine as well. So I have 5 tips or 5 ideas for you to just wrap your head around with this machine. You may not have heard these before. I certainly didn't hear the first one until a couple of weeks ago when I was doing a little bit of research to see some ideas that I can share with you. And let's start off with this one because I thought this was actually really a fantastic idea. So I know I have some paper towel here. You can use a clean chucks, something that's dry preferably, and I'm going to explain what this is. So when you mill something like grains or sugar, there are times that you will actually see like a puff of smoke that will come out of your Thermomix. So I have seen this little tip where you can just tear off one piece of your kitchen towel, or like I said, a chucks, something that's thin enough. And what you're going to do is just place it over the hole and then put in your measuring cup just like that. Now, just a little disclaimer. Do not do this with any hot ingredients. This is only for milling things like rice, sugar, any type of grain that is dry, and it will stop the powdery floating cloud that will come out of your machine. So that is a great little tip for you. So number 1 is use a square worth of your paper towel or a clean chucks, and that will help eliminate the cloud that will form when you are doing your milling process. So that's tip number 1. Now, tip number 2, I don't know about you, but I've been cooking for so many years, and one of the things that I got used to pretty early on is whenever you use this ingredient, there is always one precautionary action you need to take, and that is to check the egg each time that you are going to cook. Now, the old way of doing things was how to remember if it floated or if it didn't float. Was it fresh or wasn't it fresh? I don't know about you, but that was confusing to me. So this tip is a wonderful tip. So instead of pulling out a cup or a mug out of, or even a bowl out of your pantry or your area where your crockery is stored, all you need to do is actually use your measuring cup as the item where you will crack the egg into. So all you need to do is just move your little lid handle, and you will notice at the top of your jug there is a small lip. So this was also an extra little bonus tip for you. You can crack the egg on there and then crack it into your measuring cup like that. It gives a great surface. It's not a sharp edge, so you'll be able to, I haven't had any eggshells since doing that tip for the last year, so that's a little good one for you to make sure that you are not getting extra things to wash for your dishwasher or in your sink. Just use the top of your measuring cup and put your egg inside there, so that once you've smelt it and you think it's okay, that's usually my test, is if it smells okay, then you can add it into your recipe so that you don't have to throw away the whole batch if you smell that the egg is not so fresh. So that's tip number 2. The other thing that I do want to share with you, you may not have known, is when you look at the shape of the measuring cup, you'll see there's a spout at this one end, and at the other end there is a rounded portion. And if you look inside your measuring circle, you will notice there are 2 measurements. So where the spout is, there's a 50 milliliter mark, and then directly opposite on the round part is 100 milliliter mark. So please use this. This is tip number 3. Use this as your, for example, if you have a recipe that calls for water or calls for a certain amount of a liquid item, you can use your measuring cup, obviously, as the name implies, measuring out your liquid ingredients. So 50 mils or 100 mils, so you can be using this as a small jug. So that's tip 3. Now, I don't know if you saw me do this a little bit earlier, but where at the top part of the measuring cup, where I mentioned about the spout, so a pointed portion of the measuring cup, and also on the opposite side, if you flip it up, you will notice corresponding underneath that is a lip here and a lip here. Now what this will do is it actually makes sure that the measuring cup stays in place. So for those of you that have had a Thermomix for a number of years, you've had previous models, you know what the previous measuring cups were like. They would definitely rattle around while you were working with your machine. And also when you lifted up your lid, you had to make sure you just moved that away slightly with the measuring cup on, because you couldn't turn it upside down. It definitely would have fallen off. So this little tip that I'm going to share with you, where the spout is and the opposite side, so where those little lips are on the underside, to release this a lot easier, where the spout is, put your index finger in that little position and then your thumb finger on the edge of the lid, and then I always say rock it out, baby. And that will definitely lift it off a lot easier. I know sometimes some customers are very frustrated that they can't pull it out just like that. So this is tip number 4. Put your finger, index finger into there, thumb on the side, and rock it out. All right, now the last tip that I do have for you is actually got to do with your scales. And when you first get your machine, I would suggest that you check what an item is that you always know that is the stable measurement. And often we will use the measuring cup. So I'm going to flick on over to my scales, touch my scales, and for a TM6 machine, when you get your machine new, the measurement or the weight for your measuring cup is between 80 and 85 grams. So what I would suggest is you have a little note, put it somewhere, you put that on the scale, minus 84 grams, make a note of that, and there's a very good reason for that. You know that this will never change, unless of course you have a big chunk taken out of it. But the measurement is that's a stable item that always obviously comes with your machine, and you will be able to check if your machine's scales are playing up. So if you decide you're going to tear your machine to 0, put on your measuring cup and you realize, hey, it's gone up to maybe 200, there's something wrong. And that usually means that your little assistant in the kitchen needs a little bit of help and needs a service. So do yourself a favor. That is tip number 5, and I hope that today's little mini list has helped you understand how easy this little unit or this little part of your Thermomix can be very, very helpful, and how to use it effectively. So if today's video has helped you, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and share it with another Thermomix lover so that they can absolutely learn a little bit more about their machine. I hope today's been of assistance to you. I am Bea from Thermi Tucker, and I look forward to helping you again with your machine. Take care.